And this is where I spend my time. I spend my time with a huge range of organizations, including Disney, including the Consumer Electronic Association, ESPN, NASA, the Gap, folks in every single industry who are trying to understand what is it we do in a world in which change is happening faster than ever before. And you are caught up in this tornado. Everything that is fitness and sports related has become caught up in digital technology. What do you do about it? Well, what we do about it is we appreciate that the future is coming at us faster than ever before. You know, I was invited into, as I said, NASA twice. I was invited into NASA's Goddard Space Center. This is located north of Washington. 55,000 people work there. This is where they bring in the data from satellites which are billions of miles from Earth. This is where they're building the replacement for the Hubble telescope. You know, I had a conference call with them. You know, what do you want me to talk about? Who's going to be in the room? Well, we're going to have some astronauts. We're going to have some astrophysicists. We're going to have people who are studying planets and, you know, and deep space and black holes. And we want you to talk about the future. Kind of freaked me out. So I'm at home, I'm working on my PowerPoint deck, I'm thinking, what can I possibly talk to these folks about who are incredibly brilliant, whose minds are way out there? And I thought to myself, I know where I'm going to start. I'm going to talk about the Jetsons. I'm going to talk about this TV show from 1962, set in the year 2062. So I went online to Google, and I found this image of George Jetson. I found this other image of George Jetson, and I started talking to NASA about the Jetsons. This show was set in the year 2062 and purported to show the world that we would soon live in, 50 years from now. But think about what was really going on in the Jetsons in these pictures. George is using Skype. George is using FaceTime. George is getting his news off the internet. And all of a sudden, this television cartoon show from 1962 that showed us the world of 2062 has become real by the year 2005, 2010. So I'm thinking, I got a good little storyline here. I'm thinking, I'm into NASA. They're probably ever, only going to invite me in once. I cannot go into NASA and not talk about Spock. I gotta talk about Spock. I mean, come on, you can't go in and talk to a bunch of astronauts and not talk about Spock. So I found this picture of Spock. Are there any hardcore Trekkies in the room? Hold up your hands, any of them? Okay, good, because they all get freaked out because apparently this is the wrong picture and they come up after my talk and say, it's the wrong picture, calm down. What Spock is holding in his hands here is a medical tricorder. In this episode, it's a fantastic little medical device that he could put up next to the head of a person and instantly determine every medical condition that person has ever had, or every medical condition that person might ever develop, or instantly determine the entire current physiological status and health of that person. What a fantastic concept of science fiction from the 23rd century when Star Trek was set. But we live in a fascinating world today. We live in the world of the X Prize. We live in a world in which some of the largest corporate organizations in the world are challenging the global scientific community to solve some of the biggest problems of our time, having to do with healthcare, having to do with the environment, having to do with water, having to do with fitness, having to do with science. One organization, Qualcomm, which builds a lot of the computer chips found in our cell phones, put together a $10 million prize to challenge the global scientific community to develop the medical tricorder as seen in the Star Trek television show. And the reason I brought this up to NASA's Goddard Space Center, is because they were unaware that out at NASA's Ames Research Laboratory in California, a group of 45 NASA scientists got together to develop the Xanadu Scout. They went and raised the money to develop it as a Skunk Works project, not affiliated with NASA, by crowdfunding the money through Kickstarter to develop the medical tricorder as dreamed about in the Star Trek television show. And I'm holding it here in my hand. The 23rd century is already here. I can put this little device up to my head. It links to my iPhone. It takes my blood pressure, takes my pulse, takes my oxygen level, runs an EKG. Future versions will do glucose readings. It will take an instant physiological record. The point is, all of a sudden, the 23rd century is here. What was meant to be science fiction is all of a sudden becoming a part of our world faster than ever before. You know, I do a lot of events in Las Vegas, and 3 years ago I would be in Las Vegas and I would be talking on stage about this future, technology that would one day invade our world called 3D printing. And now 3D printing is everywhere. It's going to have a massive impact on what we do, how we manufacture, how we interact with our customers. Today is the slowest day of technological change for the rest of your entire life. That's the reality in which you're going forward. So what I want to try and do here is, what's going on in our world and what's the impact on your industry. And here's where we start. We always overestimate the rate of change that will occur on a 2-year basis. We underestimate the rate of change that will occur on a 10-year basis.